Level check. 1, 2. We'll just
Check 1, 2. Check. Check 1, 2.
Yeah, I just saw nobody was here, so I came up.
All right, folks, welcome back here. In less than a minute, the next game up for you, Game 5. In white, Denver ground control, including Montreal Mont Royals. We have the battle from the only Canadian team here this weekend and the next Canadian team, well known for folks from Denver. They're just like Canada anyway, right?
good early evening, I suppose. It's 5 o'clock here in Vancouver. You're watching the Salish Sea Slam. This is game number 5 of the weekend so far. This game's going to feature Denver Ground Control taking on the Montreal Mont Royals.
All right, so we're going to get things started here momentarily.
For ground control in white, you have number 11 Cruz, 139 Steinbrecher, 2 Salvador, number 207 Day, 257 Schneider, 31 Burns, 36 Lenzo, 40 Broderick, 45 Arms, 612 Friedman, 77 Cotton, 89 Rivera, and 98 Sparrow.
Montreal is in blue. Number 101 is Jupercut. Number 247, 24-7, sorry, that is Saturday. 300 is White Shark. 345, PETA. 42, Luke Ness Monster. Number 5 is Red. 50, Buddy Ollie. 53, Freight Astaire. 71, The Rev. 7804, Viking Size, who was lead jammer, picked up 8 in that last jam. Number 8 is Marcus, and number 84, Peter Nostro. So one jam in. 8-0, Montreal taking an early lead, 29:15 left on the clock. My name is Wilhelm Scream. Thank you for tuning in.
And my name is Sonia Blade. Up next on the jam line, we've got number 101, Jumpercut, up against number 57. Sorry, 257. That's Schneider.
Schneider pin back in turn number 1. Jumpercut in turn number 2, trying to get around. Both jammers dealing with stiff defense.
Jumpercut takes a hit to that inside. He was awarded lead jammer, but he's going to play it safe and bring himself to the back to avoid a penalty.
Schneider fights through as well. Jumpercut calling off the jam from his backside at the furthest point on the track away from us. You can tell because it's also the furthest point on the track away from the penalty box.
It's a little hard to see. It's not the best vantage point, but we'll do what we can.
Leaves the score 8-0, Montreal taking the early lead in this game. The winner of this contest will have the fast track towards qualification. Winner will only have one more game left to win to qualify for that spot for Wales. There's 2 spots open. Philadelphia already waiting for their opponent to see who they'll be playing thanks to their win in the last game.
So there's number 42, Luke Ness Monster, up against a solid wall of Denver blockers.
And Sparrow fighting around inside, outside, track cut penalty. That's going to send Sparrow into the penalty box. That puts Montreal in a power jam situation. Luke Ness Monster needs to complete his initial pass, however.
Luke Ness Monster looking for a little bit of help from his blockers. Removes the star. Sneakily passes it to Saturday. Saturday off like a shot.
Looks like we got a full 2-minute jam underway with one jammer going to the penalty box, the other passing the star off. Saturday activating jammer powers, trying to juke around number 207. That's Day for Denver. Saturday picking up 5 points.
Sparrow out of the box. Takes a little trip over a Mount Royal blocker, but he's still fought through it. He's through for his initial pass.
Saturday getting tripped up in the far straightaway. Looks like it is going to lead to a low block penalty. That being assessed against number 36, Kenzo, or Lenzo.
Still 20 seconds left in this jam as Saturday rounds the track. Unchallenged. He dips his shoulder and he's through for another 4 points for Montreal.
Sparrow picking up 4 points as well, putting the first 8 on the board for Denver. Saturday have already won a full Grand Slam ahead. It's going to add a couple more points. Well, looks like 2 additional, an 8 to 15 jam. Montreal now 23. Denver with 8. 25 minutes, 45 seconds left in the first half.
Looks like Montreal is sending out Viking size to the jam line, going up against Sparrow for Denver. Sorry, not Sparrow, that's Arms.
Both these teams did play earlier today as well. Montreal playing against Minnesota and the Twin City Terrors. Viking size was incredibly important to Montreal in that game. Pretty much sealed the deal at the end of it as it happened. Arms with Denver just against Dakota, I mean, again, was just so pivotal in their win.
This should be a pretty even matchup. Denver ground control seated at number 2 and Montreal seated at number 3. So only the score will tell.
Viking calling up. Looks like both jammers being awarded 0 in that. So a nothing jam keeps the score 8 to 23. Montreal enjoying a 15-point lead. Just over 5.5 gone in the first half.
Montreal with a slight pack disadvantage as one of their blockers awaits serving their penalty.
4-on-3 pack advantage for Denver as we get started in jam 5.
Back underway, jumper cut, picking up lead jammer status really quickly for Montreal. Under
Rivera
10 seconds.
tiptoes on that outside line, but he gets knocked out at the last second by the Rev. He's going to bridge all the way back to the jam line.
Jumper cut now being sent into the penalty box. Track cut. So Rivera out in a power jam situation. Denver looking to chip away at the lead that Montreal has established.
And the sound in the crowd, it didn't sound like that good of a hit on Rivera. He's getting bridged all the way back to turn number 2.
Yeah, Rivera took a little bit of air. I don't think it was the intentional kind of air that you want to take every once in a while as a skater. Landed hard, did bounce back up. That's 5 points. Grand Slam completed for Denver ground control.
Jumper cut out of the box. He took down Rivera with him. A little slow to get up. But he's back in it.
Both jammers a little slow. Looks like jumper cut had to shake off the cobwebs a little bit. Rivera was able to complete a scoring pass. 4 points picked up.
Jumper cut has passed off the star to number 5-0. That's Buddy Ollie with the pivot. Rivera skating backwards through the pack, picks up another 5 points for Denver ground control.
Buddy Ollie holding the star for Montreal, but more specifically holding the star, not putting it on his helmet. That's not going to help. He's not going to pick up any points. An additional 3 points being picked up. Those do get added to Montreal from Juppercut.
I think Buddy Ollie realized the time was running out. There's no point in putting the star on, putting in all that effort. Sometimes those stars don't go on that easily.
Medical staff here.
But score right now 26-22. Montreal had a 15-point lead at the start of that jam, but a 14-3 jam. It's down to 4 points. Montreal taking an early timeout, trying to refocus themselves after giving up that big jam.
Of course, this timeout is brought to you by Nerd Roller Skates. Everything you need for roller derby and beyond. Free shipping across Canada for orders over $150 at nerdskates.com or visit their full-service shop in Calgary, Alberta. Nerd Skates for people who roll.
All right, so this time has been brought to you by Nerd Roller Skates. Of course, Nerd has got a root beer.
Once again, 26 for Montreal, 22 for Denver, 21:55 on the clock. Looks like we shifted from a team timeout. It's being billed as an official timeout instead, so no team losing their timeouts.
Also want to say a huge thank you to
The officials overruling that team timeout decision.
for providing food for the volunteers this weekend. Really appreciate it. And thank all of you for coming out to the Richmond Oval, of course, to be audience members for the tournament this weekend. We're going to be going all the way till roughly 9 o'clock tonight, and then again
Facing off next on the jam line, we've got number 7804 Viking Size up against 98 Sparrow.
So yeah, you can see the medics are wondering what's wrong with the skaters. Apparently they're talking gibberish, but of course forgetting the fact that they're from Quebec, so they're actually talking French, and there isn't really a head injury.
Looks like the medical staff actually doing a little bit of concussion protocol on Juppercut right now. Hopefully we'll see Juppercut back on the track, but obviously we want to make sure that taking care of all the skaters. So a big thank you to our medical staff.
It's better to play it safe. You definitely had to shake that hit off. Better safe than sorry.
Anytime you see someone before they can even rise to their feet again, just kind of have to shake the cobwebs. Not a good thing. Want to definitely get them checked out first. So
Pack opting for a pivot line start at this point. Montreal with 3 blockers on the track as the Rev serves the remaining seconds of his penalty. And Viking Size is your lead jammer for Montreal.
That was a hell of a gamble. He managed it.
the Viking Size kind of took a risk. There was an opening on the inside, but a slight opening. Viking Size, despite the name, not an overly large individual either, just tall.
Just tall, and those long flowing braids just add to the
The
appearance.
mystique, you could say. 1 point was picked up by Montreal, so 27-22 now.
After the whistle, we'll get that all sorted out here momentarily. The previous jam, 1 additional point to Montreal. We're sitting their lead now by 5, 27-22.
Looks like we are in an official timeout. There's some discussion going on with the officials at Apex between 1 and 2.
A lot of discussion, but it's better to sort these things out early than let the game go on and then try and revise it later with no fresh memory of the event.
Well, especially if there's any concern about player safety, given that we do already have 1 concussion protocol that was being looked at. If there's a concern about high blocks, which it seems like at least some of the skaters are concerned about, as the Rev mentioned, he was on his way to the penalty box a couple jams ago. That's definitely something that the officials want to look at and make sure that they're keeping their eyes on it just in case.
Oh, definitely. I heard last year the track started rotating and the tape was starting to ripple. So they've made sure to tape the track down to the floor this year. So hopefully we'll avoid that in this 2-day tournament.
Kept all his body parts in, got up, and carried on to pick up the. So I don't know how they're practicing in Montreal. Cirque du Soleil is kind of out of Montreal, so maybe they do some practices with them.
Anti-grav suits.
Yeah.
So Montreal still holding that 5-point lead, 27-22, 21:05 in the first half. Winner of this game advances to the qualifying game tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. The loser of this game will be coming back to play the Austin Anarchy tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Thompson responses from the officials. looks like nobody's
So,
going to the penalty
not
box. It looks like after the
win or lose, the door is not closed on the opportunity for Wales. It's just that losing makes the road a little more difficult.
Just a little bit, because after playing Austin Anarchy, whoever wins that game goes on to the qualifying game against the Philadelphia Hooligans tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock.
We are back to the action. Arms jamming for Denver. Luke Monster for Montreal.
Number 45 for ground control, that's Arms. He's pushing against a solid 3-wall of Montreal at the front.
It's true.
I lost track after the first couple letters. Arms up front, pushing through.
Like Arms was trying to get a little bit of help from his friends, then pushed the Mont Royals pack a little bit too far away. They had to let him go. Arms is through, picking up lead. Luke Monster still pinned back, still stuck on his initial scoring pass.
Lenzo keeps hitting out number 42, Luke Monster, bridging him back. He's done that about 3 times now. It's got to be frustrating. He's just trying to get his initial pass still. Meanwhile, Arms is back around the track on another scoring pass. He's already put up 5.
Yeah, those 5 from Arms knotted the score at 27. Arms looking to get a couple more big collisions, including maybe a little bit of after the whistle extracurriculars.
Now, this previous jam was the one that was looking for.
Looks like that did indeed happen. That's Schneider going into the penalty box for late contact. And now 8 points from Arms puts Denver on top 30-27.
It's our first lead change of the game.
And we're going to take another official timeout. Again, the officials doing their due diligence in this game. And our day is not done after this game is over. The very next game coming up after this is going to feature Dakota Men's Roller Derby taking on Minnesota Men's Roller Derby. That is going to be happening at 7 o'clock. Winner of that game will face Race City tomorrow morning at 11 a.m.
They will face either Race City.
Of course, Race City just facing a tough loss against Philadelphia Hooligans, but they're ranked at number 1.
They'll face the winner of Dakota Men's against Minnesota Men's.
Race City had the nail biter at the start of the day, being in the morning, winning by 3. Then hard-fought, tough loss against Philadelphia. They get to come back tomorrow at 11. They'll be fresh. They'll be rejuvenated. They did all say they were going to the pool after that last game against Philadelphia. So hopefully they won't show up waterlogged tomorrow.
It's a good way to celebrate. Everybody hit the pool. It's better than those ice baths I hear about.
It should be. Oh,
Something's going on.
Oh, someone's giving out candy over there.
Is it candy or pizza?
Right? Oh.
Don't forget the announcers. We like food.
Looks like Kami passing some information along to skaters.
Looks like Red incurred a penalty on that last jam. He will start this jam in the penalty box as the jammer. Power start for Denver ground control. They've sent out number 98, Sparrow.
This is Red. He was the jammer on that last jam. Got a penalty for a leading contact. And he will sit in the penalty box, and there will be a power start for Denver with Sparrow.
Sparrow coming around in turn number 1. Apex between 1 and 2, pushing at the front of the Montreal pack, dealing with Paternostro. Getting around, that's lead going once again to Denver.
The box slowly filling up with pivots from both sides. Saturday incurred cut track penalty. And Sparrow is through, putting up another 5 points for Denver.
Red is returned to the field of play, as is Schneider. So the power jam has done its job. Denver picking up 5 points in that power jam, and Sparrow trying to get around in scoring position, but getting a little tangled up. It's like a low block call being assessed against number 345, Pita.
And And with a 10-point jam from Denver, that puts them at 40 up against Montreal's 27 points. Still anybody's game with 18 minutes left in this half.
Now Montreal once held a 15-point lead. Now Denver with a 13-point lead. Viking size back out for Montreal. Ground control responds with Steinbrecher.
Size at the front, pushing, no penalty call.
Viking size shoved to the infield by number 36, Lenzo, but it leads to Lenzo picking up a penalty for blocking out of bounds.
Now just getting between 1 and 2.
Steinbecker still with one Montreal player to beat. He gets knocked to that inside and bridged all the way back to the apex. And while Viking size is trying to get through for another scoring pass, trying to put up another 5 points on the board.
Viking size saying there is a cutting the track penalty. That's sending Rivera into the penalty box. Meanwhile, Viking size, his flowing red locks helping propel him forward. That's a second scoring pass, another 10 points jam for Montreal.
His long, luxurious braids just flowing carelessly in the breeze. I'm surprised he doesn't braid his beard, too, to be honest. Maybe it just takes too much effort. I don't know. I don't know anything about beards.
There'd also be the risk of accidentally braiding his beard into his hair, which is just uncomfortable, and I don't suggest anyone try that.
Fair enough.
Big 10-point jam for Viking size. Closes the gap. Denver now 40, Montreal 37, 16 and a half to go. Arms back on the track for Denver.
The Montreal is sending out number 101, Jumper Cut, to jam up against number 45, Arms. Jumper Cut helping his blockers keep Arms behind that jam line.
Arms found an opening on the infield. Jumper Cut also finding the opening. Jammers out in the open, skating free. Arms coming through, trying to call it off. Jumper Cut looks like stole 1 point, so 1-1 jam. Even up, still a 3-point difference between the two teams.
Tried to get that 1 point and call it, but he wasn't quite quick enough.
Yes, Monster lining up. Looks like Sparrow is
Number 42 in blue is Luke Ness Monster wearing the star for Montreal. Looks like Sparrow, number 98 in white, back jamming for Denver.
Sparrow fighting against that solid 2-wall as he comes around turn 2. They incur a multiplayer block, and he is your lead jammer for Denver ground control.
Luke Ness Monster is having a rough afternoon and had difficulty against the Minnesota men's roller derby, the Twin Cities Terrors. Now having some trouble against Denver. Saturday picking up the star from Montreal, activating jammer powers. Sparrow coming around, calls off the jam as he picks up another 4-point scoring pass. 9 for Denver in that jam. Reopens the lead back up to 12.
Sparrow almost got through too easily on that last pass, but luckily somebody from Mount Royal was there to catch him. Give him a little bit of a challenge, but he still got through for 9 points that jam, 4 points that pass.
Score is currently 50-38, 14 minutes to go. Those red braids mean Viking size back jamming for Montreal. Schneider is jamming for Denver.
Viking size trying to challenge those links in that Denver wall. Here comes Buddy Ollie to provide some offense. Unfortunately, he takes his own jammer down with him. And Schneider is your lead jammer.
The Viking size was being pinned back behind Salvador and Cruz, with Rivera acting as the bracer for that tandem. Schneider gets around for another 5-point scoring pass. Rivera into the penalty box.
Viking size still stashing that star.
Viking size, looking for an opportunity there.
He's got it in his hand. He kept it. He is through for his initial pass.
A little bit of trickery too, because there was a visible hand connection with Red, but the helmet cover stayed in Viking Size's hand.
Yeah,
Actually,
Red definitely looked like he was going to try and fight through the pack. It looked like he was a jammer, but he wasn't quite yet.
It actually did distract Denver enough for Viking Size to get through and complete the initial pass.
Unfortunately, Schneider caught on to his trickery and called it off before they could score any points. And we have another Nerd Roller Skates timeout. Everything you need for roller derby and beyond. Nerd Skates for people who roll.
And this is an official Montreal timeout. We thought earlier Montreal had taken a timeout. It then became an official timeout instead. So now first team timeout, first clock stoppage being used by either team. Got 12:33 left in the first half. Montreal saw their lead evaporated and they started closing the gap. Denver taking control, reopening up. They've got now a 20-point lead at 58-38.
Well, they are the ground control. It's written right in their name.
I mean, it's still early. 20 points can be taken care of. They can be wiped out with one really big jam, a couple of jams. Denver right now, they've put the hammer down. They've gotten the ability to take lead jam and minimize the Montreal jammers.
I don't know about Montreal's elevation, but I know Denver is the mile-high city, so they have the high altitude training on their side. We'll see if it works out for them.
And whereas the last time a team timeout was converted to an official timeout, this one just rolls over into an official timeout.
$5 for half blue ribbon, rock sided, or wine.
We've had a few official reviews in this game. Unfortunately, we don't get any information on them, so we can't really tell you the nature of these reviews. Just hoping it's all to get the game going along as quickly as possible.
This official review actually is due to the fact that our medical staff is currently attending to a skater. Once they have returned to their locations, we'll be able to get gameplay back underway.
Where's the candy fairy? There was somebody here doing candy.
There was a candy fairy that came by with a suitcase, threw some candy at that little section of people, and then left. Is that a Minnesota thing?
And with that, the teams are setting up for the next jam. We've got number 45, Arms, up against 101, Juppercut.
That was very un-Canadian.
I've seen Fargo.
Isn't that filmed in Calgary, Alberta?
We are 5 seconds away from the start of jam at 13.
In our town, it's
Calgary.
right around the corner from my house.
Looks like the medics are back in action.
That's right. Ours is jamming for Denver.
Once again, that's number 45.
Juppercut sizing up Arms, making sure his blockers have control of him. One to beat, and he is your lead jammer for Montreal.
Juppercut getting around, coming around down the straightaway right in front of us. Arms was forced back thanks to it being recycled through the infield. Now Juppercut knocked to the ground. The apex turns 1 and 2. Gives Arms the ability to go around the outside. Completes his initial pass.
Arms had removed the star, but opted to keep it as opportunity on the outside opened up for him. And with that, the jam is called. Still awaiting Montreal's points. Looks like 5 points for Montreal in that jam.
So, yeah, that's good that they both saw the same thing. One saw it a lot closer.
Looks like Rivera sent into the penalty box at the end of that jam, so Denver's going to start
Size of
with a pack disadvantage 4-3.
size.
Slow on the other.
I'm not dragging it everywhere. And Sparrow as well with the star.
Viking size with 2 to beat as he rounds the first apex.
And Sparrow will make it.
Sparrow sneaks through that inside line.
Sparrow had just found enough momentum that Montreal saw it happening and still couldn't close the door fast enough.
Nice defensive maneuvers there by Cruz.
And after picking up 3 points, Sparrow calls off that jam, holding Montreal scoreless.
Good job by Petter Nostro making a point of staying in front and not being a point. And Viking size coming around, forcing the issue and forcing the early call off. Score is 61-43. Denver on top by 18. We've got 10.5 to go in the first half.
18. That's some quick math. I was like, it's definitely less than 20.
Saturday is going to be jamming for Montreal. Jamming against number 61 for Denver.
Saturday with some fancy moves. He's jumping left. He's jumping right. He's got 2 left to beat as he comes around turn number 2. He is your lead jammer. Some fancy footwork by Saturday.
You're entitled to a cheering squad.
Schneider opting to hide the star. Got him through the pack for his initial pass, but Saturday calls it off after picking up 4 points. Denver managed to score 1 in that jam.
And Saturday picking up 4. Denver now 62, Montreal 47. Luke Ness Monster already in position. Waiting leisurely. There's still 7 seconds before the next jam starts, but Luke Ness Monster ready for Mont Royals. And Sparrow for Denver ground control.
Goes to start this jam. Sparrow's up front first. And his teammates slowing that down. Locking everything up with a wonderful
White Shark from Montreal trying to provide some offense for Luke Ness Monster, preventing ground control from going back.
Forearm penalty sends Broderick into the penalty box. Denver losing one of their blockers. Sparrow does get through to complete the initial pass. Picks up lead jammer for Denver.
Luke Ness Monster quickly removes the star, passes it off to number 345, Peta from Mount Royal. He is your new jammer.
And Peta coming around ahead of steam. Sparrow, it didn't even seem like Sparrow knew that the opposing jammer was still on the track. Peta sneaks around, gets 4 points, and Sparrow only getting 2. Correction, 3 for Denver, but Peta was untouched on that pass.
He was. Sparrow recognized that threat and he's like, "No, I'm not going to challenge that. I'm going to call this jam off while I have the opportunity."
Net result was a 1-point gain for Montreal. 65-51, 8 minutes remaining.
Jumper cut taking a hit to the inside. He's going to get recycled back by number 36, Lenzo for ground control. Jumper cut sneaks on that outside, dips his shoulder. He is your lead jammer.
Now, I didn't see who made the contact shortly after the jam started, but Arms took a big hit and bounced back about 5 feet.
Arms removed the star and seemed to pick up speed as he came around that pack. Fortunately, he is held scoreless to Montreal's 5 points.
But again, a situation that even had Arms passed before any of the whistles blown, the jammer star was in his hand the entire time, so no points would have been added to the Denver side.
Yeah, he really made no attempt to put the star on as he had cleared the pack, so I'm kind of curious what his game was.
So 5 points picked up by Montreal makes it 65-56. For those of you that know how much announcers love palindromes, this is a palindrome break. This team timeout palindrome break brought to you by Nerd Roller Skates.
roller skates for people who roll. Nerdskates.com. Go visit. Order over $150.
Also, if you're sitting at home, you're watching on YouTube, use this palindrome break. Get yourself a beverage. Make sure you're hydrated, because if you're cheering and you're hooting and you're hollering, having a good time, you want to make sure that you stay hydrated. You don't want to blow your voice out. There's still another full day of games tomorrow.
And tomorrow we're going to see who qualifies to go to the MRDA Championships in Wales. So you know there's going to be some good derby to watch tomorrow too. So save your voices.
You guys close to each other on the map?
Yeah, right?
I'm terrible at U.S. geography, so I'll admit that. But yeah.
Pretty much.
Looks like this is an official timeout. 65-56, 7:13 on the clock.
I tell you, did you see the Dakota game this morning? There is one person on that team that doesn't have a beard. That is a serious bunch of bearded dudes, and appropriately named the Norsemen.
I thought beards were a Montana thing, but apparently I'm wrong. I also thought that everyone in Montana had a pickleball mustache when I visited there. I was totally wrong.
Montreal sending out Viking Size once again, squaring off against Lenzo for this next jam.
All right, so Viking Size taking the jam line.
Lenzo trying to go around the outside, just bumped enough. Forced to recycle, and Paternostro pulling Lenzo way back.
Viking Size opting to challenge those links, hopefully to pull a multiplayer block on those ground control blockers.
Yeah, the outside
Lenzo
line
is your lead jammer.
The outside line didn't work the first time. It did work the second time around. Lenzo was able to sneak through. And then completes
Viking Size has removed the star. That's PETA jamming again for Montreal.
Once again, PETA.
And Viking Size is off to the box. I didn't see what penalty he got, but at least he didn't go in as a jammer.
Is Viking Size in the penalty box as a jammer? It would be so.
Oh, I was mistaken. He did go in as a jammer. He just didn't have his star on.
Someone's been assessed a penalty shortly before the star pass happened. Didn't appear to be an ineligible star pass.
What I'm hearing here is a comment the ref goes by. There was a high block penalty issued before the star pass happened, so it never should have happened.
It wasn't completed.
It was a
So we're hearing that there is a high block issued just as the star pass was happening. That puts Viking Size in the penalty box, and Sparrow has a power jam for Denver ground control.
But Sparrow's going to have to fight around. It's like the Rev going into the penalty box, sitting down for Montreal. For Denver, we've got number 77, Cotton. Sparrow's initial pass completed, going for lead, but great penalty kill because Viking Size now back re-engaging with the fray.
Viking Size just hurls himself at those links in the Denver wall, but he gets knocked to the outside, bridged back all the way to turn number 2. Sparrow tried to tiptoe on that outside line, but he was knocked out at the last second.
And Sparrow doing a quick assessment of the situation. Denver rotating their defense well, holding back Viking Size, but Viking does get through. Initial pass completed. Sparrow completing the first scoring pass for 5 points. Denver opening that lead up a little bit again, 19 points now, 75-56, 4 minutes, 40 seconds left in the first half between these two teams.
Monster and Schneider are going to take the line for their respective.
We've got Luke Monster taking the jam line for Montreal, and Denver sends out Schneider, number 257 in white. Good brace. That tripod defense being used by Montreal right now. Holding back Schneider. Cruz trying to create some havoc. Also, there's Rivera. Yeah, it's Rivera up there at number 89. They're all trying to open up opportunities for Schneider. But Luke Monster gets through first, picks up lead status. Fights out and around. Schneider is chasing after, trying to catch up. But Luke Monster going to try and sneak a point. Looks like is awarded 2 points before the call-off. Schneider was able to get 1, I believe. There's 1 point indeed, so 76-58 now. Denver still on top now, 18 points, 3.5 minutes to go.
Points right now, 76 Denver, 58 Montreal.
Montreal sending out Juppercut for this next jam. He's facing off against number 36, Lenzo. Juppercut takes advantage of a tumbling ground control blocker. He manages to keep his footing on that outside line. But number 207, Day, was there to knock him out the rest of the way, bridged himself back, and the jam is called off, no points scored.
And Juppercut had picked up lead and just realized it was time to call off the jam. Denver Jammer coming around too quickly, almost in scoring position. Montreal realizing there was no chance of getting points themselves. Call it off, minimize the damage. So 2.5 to go now, 76-58. Viking size back on the line against Sparrow.
They still have another half to play, so it's good to have those strategies in there, save their energy a little bit. Viking size sneaks through the inside line, lost his footing, but stayed inbounds. Oh, correction. He got a cut track penalty. That is a power jam for ground control.
It was a situation where it was either going to be the most awkward save or the most awkward track cut. Either way, Sparrow is the only jammer on the track right now.
I mean, even if it was an awkward save, you don't get points for style. If it's in, it's in. But unfortunately, he was just out enough to get a cut track. But he has a few seconds remaining on his penalty, and he'll be back out there.
Like Viking size being returned to the track just as Buddy Ollie going into the penalty box.
Sparrow taking a tough hit. It took him a little while to get up there. He seemed reluctant to get back on his feet, but
to the point where both teams' benches were begging for the jam to be called off. Sparrow was laboring to get back up. And Sparrow is heading straight to our medical staff. We're in an official timeout.
Official timeout is underway.
And again, I suspect that it's because the
I feel the refs may be discussing the lack of calling off the jam after Sparrow was on the ground for a good length of time.
Yeah, we've got a score of 76-58 right now. Hopefully we'll get a little more information about Sparrow. We do know Juppercut was the one that had been getting the concussion protocol earlier. Obviously, you've seen him back on the track. Hopefully we'll be able to see Sparrow back as well. But it was a show of solidarity as both benches were actually asking each other, is this seriously continuing in a jam that both teams thought should have been called off? Obviously, referee discretion comes into play. We don't know exactly what the officials saw that indicated that the jam should continue. We're only in a position where we can see what the benches are seeing.
It seems like our first aid people have been busy this game. I don't know if they have any say in how the game's going, but they've definitely, and evenly on both sides, both Montreal and Denver.
Well, we are nearing halftime. There's 57 seconds left on the game clock. So we are nearing halftime, which would also allow both teams to just kind of refocus, recenter, see what adjustments they need to make. And one of those adjustments could very well be just to being more cognizant about just physicality, since it does seem to be affecting both teams right now.
I'm from Montreal, so.
Seeing them work on Sparrow, I'd be surprised if he would be back for the second half. He looked pretty rough. He didn't even go back to his bench. He just kind of went off to the sidelines. He's like, nope, first aid now.
So that's like 1.6 kilometers, so a mile. At least part of the time. But wait.
So once again, this official timeout is something where we are in this timeout due to the medical staff being occupied at the moment. We want to thank you for tuning into the stream here on YouTube. We know that Derby costs money. If you would like to make a donation of any kind to help cover the cost of the feed, please send PayPal to finance@mainlandmisfits.com. Anything you can offer helps. If you can't offer anything, if you can't contribute, don't worry. Like we get it. It's just if you can and you want to. There's also details posted on the Facebook page for the event for the Salish Sea Slam. So if it's something that you are able to do and you want to, by all means, the information is out there for you. And thank you so much for watching the stream, watching the Salish Sea Slam, the first ever MRDA North American qualifier playoffs.
Derby always finds a way. Every little bit helps us move along. For the skater, by the skater. It's true.
You know what? Maybe it's a good time to give the Vancouver Murder a round of applause and thank you for hosting this. As you can see,
so we're seeing 76-58.
the injured skater.
I know there's been
He was eating many
been penalty box. It hasn't actually been as full as I expected with some of the heavy hits that we've seen, but the hits have been, for the most part, pretty clean. There's just been some unfortunate incidents that have happened through.
Unfortunately, the hits are big, but just because the hit is big doesn't mean that it warrants a penalty. And it's been happening on both sides pretty evenly. We have seen some repeat offenders in the box.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting to see who plays it a little more casual in the second half.
And power jams have certainly come into play. We are back underway now. So again, 55 seconds left on the period clock. Both teams fielding a jammer. That is Lenzo for Denver. And jamming against Red for Montreal.
Red challenging those links in that Denver tripod. He's got 2 to beat at the top of the apex. And Red dips his shoulder. He is your lead jammer. Lenzo removing the star, hoping to create some confusion in the pack as he decides his next move. He finds some room on that inside line. Saturdave tried to knock him in, but he was just too quick on his feet. He is through for his initial pass. Red gets through, picks up 4 points. 5 for Montreal. And we just have a few seconds left in this half. And that is halftime.
Neither team electing to use a timeout late. We've got a score at the half right now, 76-63. Denver on top. Montreal's going to have to enter the second half. They will no longer have the services of Buddy Ollie. He was expelled from the game due to an egregious high block. So that will definitely impact Montreal's strategy moving forward in the second half. Denver right now, they've got to keep a level. Both teams have to keep a level head. Denver has to just hold serve, basically.
They do. It's still a close game. Only 13 points separate them. But we will see you back in 15 minutes.
Nerd Roller Skates is your dedicated quad roller skate shop in Calgary, Alberta.
Being a nerd is about being really excited and really passionate about a really specific thing. And the thing that we are really excited and passionate about is roller skates.
Nerd Roller Skates, for people who roll.
the intermission just about at the close here as we get started here in the second half. Denver at 76, Montreal 63.
All right, welcome back to the second half. Once again, Denver 76. They are in the white jerseys with the blue accents. Montreal 63. They're in the blue jerseys with the red accents and the white numbering and lettering. 13 points separating the two teams. Montreal a little bit of a run near the end of that first half, closing the gap. We do know that Denver, their jammer Sparrow, went down, was looked at by the medical staff. He was being walked off behind, has completely de-geared, so we do not expect to see Sparrow back. Hopefully we'll get some information later in the weekend about his status.
And of course, Buddy Ollie being ejected from this game, so players on both sides are missing from this second half.
And star pass, Viking size passing the cap off to Saturday, and couldn't have happened at a better time for Viking size, because as soon as that helmet cover left his hands, he got nailed with a big hit by Cruz, knocking him to the ground.
Viking sides bridging back Schneider. As a jammer, Viking size knows how frustrating it is when you get bridged back that far, so he was for sure to inflict some of that on the opposing team.
And Saturday fighting, finally getting around Rivera at the front of the pack.
Schneider getting some beautiful offense from number 89, Rivera. He got through the pack. He picked up another 5 points for Denver ground control.
Saturday is in scoring position as well, so both jammers picking up points.
Saturday with some fancy sideways skating on the outside, manages to stay in bounds. But Denver was quick to reform in front of him. Viking size trying to provide some offense, but Schneider picking up a cut track penalty. He was out of the pack, and then the ref informed him otherwise.
So Montreal coming together, trying to help Saturday. And looks like 4 points picked up by Saturday, 4 additional for Denver, so 9-point jam. 9-4 at 85-67 is the current score, and an official timeout being taken.
Denver picking up 9 points in the first jam, the second half, 85 score, Montreal 67.
From the chatter I was hearing from the two benches, it does sound like one of the skaters may have been cut, so some blood on the track that they need to take care of.
4 points going up on the last jam.
This hasn't been the best boat as far as smoothness. Sorry, all the other games have gone by pretty smooth, no real delays, but this game just seems to be delay after delay, official timeout after official timeout. So hopefully the second half will get moving along as soon as possible.
And it's been good action on the track, but it's hard for anyone to, it's hard for the team to really establish any sort of a rhythm when there have been these stoppages of time, and now we're shifting into an official review from that official timeout. So we're extending that stoppage of play. That might be some of what's contributing to some of the sloppiness that's kind of happening in the contact between the skaters. It's just you can't develop a rhythm, you can't get into a flow when there's been the stoppages that there have been, and especially for some of the extended stoppages that we've seen.
Usually a team needs to call a timeout to sort of refocus, calm their energy, but neither team has really had to call a timeout for that so far. There have been a lot of timeouts that roll into official reviews that roll into timeouts.
And looking at both of the benches, the skaters do just, there doesn't seem to be a lot of energy or urgency on either the benches right now either. And I think, again, you mentioned all the stoppages of gameplay. That's probably something that's contributing to that. Once again, this is the second to last game of the day. We do have one game remaining. That is game number 6 overall of the weekend. It's going to feature Dakota Men's Roller Derby taking on the Twin City Terrors from Minnesota Men's Roller Derby. The winner of this game will be coming back tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the second of our 2 qualifying games. Our first qualifying game will feature Philadelphia. We already know that Philadelphia is playing in that game. We're waiting for their opponent. The loser of this game will be coming back to play the Austin Anarchy, with the winner of that contest being the ones to face the Philadelphia Hooligans in the first qualifying game. That game between the loser of this contest and Austin Anarchy is happening tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Obviously, with a 9 a.m. game, neither team wants to be up that early, so both teams have something to fight for here besides that coveted playoff spot. Sorry, championship spot. We're in the playoffs right now.
And once again, 2 teams are going to walk away from this weekend knowing that they have qualified, receiving an invitation to go out to Wales and participate in the Men's Roller Derby Association Championships, where there are teams already laying in wait, including the defending champion St. Louis Gatekeepers.
You gotta hand it to these European leagues. They are really giving everybody a reason to travel out that way. We've got Women's World Cup in Manchester, Men's World Cup is in Barcelona, Men's Championships are in Wales. There's really, if you've ever wanted to go to Europe, now is your chance.
Yeah, the European qualifier for the Men's Roller Derby Association was in Toulouse not that long, just a few weeks back. WFTDA Division 1 playoffs are happening in Malmö, Sweden. Roller derby it's never been more international, and hopefully it will continue to grow and go along this path.
Oh, definitely. I know 2 Canadian teams are heading over to Malmö. We've got TCRG from here in Vancouver and also Calgary All-Stars. Not to mention, I believe Denver's heading over there, Gotham. Nice rounded tournament.
It's been fantastic. Roller derby started all those years ago, just a small little thing branching out from Austin, Texas, and it has gone global. And again, you look at this year, you look at the fact that it's expanded outside of the United States, outside of North America. We're in Vancouver. At the men's playoffs themselves, Toulouse and Vancouver, and then the championships happening in Wales. It's a great time for the sport. It's going to keep expanding, and that's because of you, the audience. It's because of the skaters, and it's because of all the international energy that's been pumped into the game.
We're seeing some of the Denver blockers checking for blood on their white uniforms. There's a little bit of blood on the track, so it's best to make sure there's no more biohazards.
And as you can see, the skaters have been told to go back to their benches. They went about 2 laps with Saturday meeting, so there are a couple of drops that they were finding on the track, and they're verifying that. And from what I understand, the head refs are going to actually find on the players to verify
Yeah, it looks.
their uniforms for blood to make sure that
Looks like we're actually going to go through a full verification. Saturday was bleeding for quite some time on the track.
That's what happens in this sport. Your adrenaline gets up, stuff happens, you don't even know you're injured until you look down and, oh, hey. Especially Velcro burn. You can get some pretty vicious Velcro burns. And
It does look like it's been taped up, so nothing further should be happening. But they do need to check over everything, make sure that there is no issue for anyone to worry about. Also, we do have some track maintenance people that went around and checked the track itself to clean it all up.
at least we're hoping there shouldn't be any more blood from Saturday. We can't say anything about the rest of the players because anything can happen in the sport, really.
Score currently stands 81-68. Denver on top of Montreal by 13. 28 minutes, 16 seconds left. Montreal's going to start out in a power jam start. That is number 101, Jippercut. Jippercut trying to find an opening, trying to find a seam. Schneider, jammer for Denver, standing in the penalty box.
Pack getting spread to its maximum as Jippercut fights those last two Denver blockers, but he gets knocked to that inside, bridge back to turn number 2, leaving Schneider able to pick up that lead jammer status. but it will go to jumper cut. After all, he snuck through that inside line. He is your lead jammer.
Schneider dancing on the inside as well. Had to remove the star from his helmet, coming back in. And a back block call that's going against jumper cut. So power jam now going to Schneider. Schneider's already grabbing 5 points on the scoring pass, coming around for pass number 2.
And since jumper cut was the lead jammer, this jam will go for the full 2 minutes. Fortunately, there's only 45 seconds left.
Schneider with a 10-point jam so far. This is giving Denver some of that breathing room that they were really hoping for. And it might prove necessary given that they did lose the services of Sparrow, who's the jammer they'd been relying on.
Schneider getting a beautiful offense from number 207, Day. He dekes out Red's attempt to block him. He is through for a 5-point grand slam.
It drew a little bit of a reaction from the Denver bench. They seem to appreciate what Schneider was able to do. Jumper cut is back on the track, picking up 4 points of his own. But Schneider's already put 15 up on the board
and Schneider whips off his own blocker. Cotton knocks him to the ground. He gets through for another 4 points for Denver.
2 additional points for Montreal brings the scores 100 even for Denver. Montreal 74. This is the largest lead of the game thus far for Denver.
25 minutes and 55 remaining.
Denver ground control looking to stamp their way through. This is a tight contest from the number 2 seed taking on the number 3 seed.
On the jam line for Montreal, Red.
We've got Red on the jam line from Montreal going up against Arms for Denver. Arms up against a solid tripod, but Red finds room on that outside. He is lead jammer, but Arms putting on some pressure. He's not far behind.
Red number 5 inside, outside, and through, completing a scoring pass. Back block penalty being assessed against number 5. So Red's going to go to the penalty box. Denver's going to start in another power jam stance, another power start.
Denver's going to send out number 89, Rivera, for this power start. Pack opting to take a pivot line start. Almost unchallenged, Rivera is through the pack for lead jammer. Pack at a standstill at turn number 1 as Rivera makes his way around.
It took Rivera a mere 5 seconds to get through. It took him only 20 seconds to get through twice, because that is 5 points in the air already.
Denver doing a beautiful job capitalizing on this power jam. Meanwhile, Red fresh out of the box, hoping to turn the tables on this Denver power jam.
The number 77 in white, Cotton, is just opening up holes, pushing against the Montreal defense, giving Rivera plenty of room to skate through. His 10 points already for Denver.
And using his player, number 612, that's
Friedman.
He whips off his jersey, gets through the pack, picks up another 3 points for Denver.
2 points for Montreal, now 114-78. Denver extending their lead even further. And Red back into the penalty box. Yet another power start for Denver. 2 jams in a row that Denver's been able to start out with the luxury of having the only jammer.
Number 36, Lenzo, pushes the pack to its out of play limit. He is your lead jammer for Denver. Denver opting to do a bit of passive offense. They're pinching to that inside line. Lenzo getting knocked to the outside. He's going to get bridged all the way back to turn number 3.
And Lenzo, good awareness, but he almost got lured into a track cut.
Lenzo just bouncing off of these Montreal blockers. He's getting pinballed. but he manages to deke out that last hit by number 345, PETA.
Lenza calling off the jam. 5 additional points picked up on the Denver side of the board. 119 to 78, 41 points now the difference between the two teams. There's still 22 minutes, 10 seconds left. And we've got Arms back on the jam line. Timeout being taken by Montreal, the Mont Royals. Taking a team timeout. Team timeout brought to you by Nerd Roller Skates. Free shipping across Canada for orders over $150 at nerdskates.com.
We'd also like to thank Save On Foods and Cobb's Bread for providing officials and volunteers with food for this whole weekend. They're keeping us well fed here in Vancouver.
So the half started and things were getting really close between the two teams. The gap got narrowed, and now Denver, just over the last few jams, has really been able to establish their dominance. Montreal's going to have to largely keep themselves out of the penalty box. It's jammer penalties that have really helped Denver reopen that lead.
Little friendly handshake between Viking Size and Arms to kick off this next jam.
Scroll down to discussion.
Yes, tomorrow 8 o'clock at Park Road Social Bar and Grill, 8191 Park Road, Richmond. So it should be
Viking Size very quickly through, just pushing his way around, gets in the lead jam status.
White Shark at the front of the pack providing some offense for Viking Size, but he gets knocked to that inside and bridged back to the pivot line. Meanwhile, Arms removed the star, got through the pack. He has made his initial pass after Viking Size puts 5 in the sky.
And Viking Size made contact with every single one of the Denver blockers, each one bouncing him back, slowing his progress. But Viking Size just kept going to complete that pass, and he's back in scoring position. Calls off the jam before Arms can sneak around. 4 additional points picked up for Montreal. 9-4 is the jam, 123 to 87 with 21 minutes to go.
I just caught the end of it, but I saw Arms. He hit the ground. He did this nice little spin move on that outside, and he stayed in bounds. He was back around the track. There's some fancy footwork from both teams this game.
just over 20 minutes remaining in the game.
The friendly handshakes continue. That time it was Lukeness Monster from Montreal shaking hands with Schneider.
Schneider, some more fancy footwork on those toe stops. He's through on that outside line for lead jam.
A little friendly fire on the ground controls. Cruz gets knocked into Broderick.
Rev bridging Schneider all the way back to turn number 4. Lukeness Monster clips the inside. He's getting bridged back to behind the pivot line. This pack seems to be moving backwards at this point.
You know, Schneider was recycled in the outfield and forced to enter behind Red. And Schneider colliding with Red, staying with Paternostro, and then finds the Rev.
He seemed confident to keep going, but then he saw the Rev there. It kind of startled him. He jumped back a little bit. He's like, oh, no, I do not want to take on the Rev right now.
Picked up 5 points, but every one of those 5 points hurt. That was a 128 to 87 score right now. Got 19 and a half minutes left in this contest. Denver pushing the lead back up to 41 points.
We've got Red on the jam line from Montreal up against Arms. Red was almost outside of the pack, but Denver blocker was sneakily waiting for him in the front. But nevertheless, red prevails. He is through as your lead jammer.
That was a great waterfall by Denver, getting himself back in position.
That Denver blocker almost looked like he was holding up the Montreal tripod. I was like, is that even allowed? And then I saw that he was there just waiting for red to pop out. And I was like, not today.
Red through and around. That's 5 points picked up by Montreal. Arms is going to pick up 4.
Red getting instructions from his coach to keep the jam going, keep racking up those points. But he saw Arms coming in. He picks up 2 points and calls off the jam, holding Denver scoreless.
Again, net win of 3 points in that jam, a 4-7 jam. They score now 132-94.
We've got number 101, Juppercut, squaring off against number 36, Lenzo. Lenzo quick to the front of that pack, but those Montreal blockers have a solid tripod. Oh, now they're down to 2, but Juppercut sneaks through that inside line.
Now Lenzo got entangled up with Fred Astaire, but one of those penalties where the end result actually was a net win because it slowed down Lenzo enough, allowed Juppercut to pick up the jammer. Lenzo just now coming around after the initial pass. Juppercut going to call off the jam. Gets tangled up with Cruz.
It's one thing that's hard about penalties. You hear the whistle go, you're not sure it's you, but you don't want to stop what you're doing because that's when the jammer gets out. But you don't want an insubordination either because then you're sitting for a full minute, just like that old school derby.
Looks like Montreal did pick up 1 point. The Fred Astaire did make sure that, one, it was a safe time to do so, and also that a penalty was being assessed against him before heading to the penalty box.
Viking size coming around turn number 2. He's got 2 Denver blockers left to beat. Gets knocked to that inside again, recycled back to turn number 1. Meanwhile, number 139, Steinbrecher. Oh, takes a tough hit, lands behind the pack. He's a little slow to get up.
That was a direction of play penalty being assessed against Red 5. Doing that big hit. Viking size going to get around and through. Great blocking by number 300, White Shark. Just that one-on-one blocking, holding Steinbrecher back. And then Schneider returns the favor.
Viking size almost threw on that inside line. Found Schneider's leg, tripped him up just enough to make him want to recycle to the back. Meanwhile, penalty box filling up with Montreal blockers, leaving number 53, Fred Astaire, out there on his own.
So another 3 Montreal points.
10 gems complete in the second half. Montreal.
Marcus in the penalty box right now for Montreal, as is White Shark. So Montreal going to be utilizing only 2 blockers to start this jam.
Montreal sending out the Rev and number 345, PETA, hoping to even up this blocker deficiency.
The back block call is going to send the Rev into the penalty box.
Saturday removing the star, creating some confusion amongst the Denver blockers. He was almost out. Now he is looking for his pivot. PETA getting pushed away by Denver. Denver doing a great job trying to prevent that star pass. They were unsuccessful. PETA is now your jammer for Montreal.
It's like White Shark's penalty time has been completed, but again with the issue that happened Saturday earlier, same thing. It's now White Shark has a scratch on his nose that is open, so he's got to wait in the penalty box area until he can get that wound covered.
It's better to stay on top of those injuries before they get worse, before they have to go around the track again looking for biohazards.
180 on this guy as he landed down. Didn't stand out for remaining down on his feet. Fall off again.
Looks like Rivera did pick up 14 points, 3 points picked up by Montreal. And we've got an official timeout being taken.
We've got 45 points separating these two teams right now with 13 minutes and 53 seconds left in this half.
So we've got 13:53 on the clock. And looks like we're going to have an official review, if I was hearing correctly, from the Denver bench. It looks like they were at least considering the official review. They were looking for an additional penalty to be assessed against White Shark for standing before he was given the 10-second stand call. White Shark was looking for medical assistance to get his cut nose bandaged. Doesn't appear to be something that the team is able to challenge on, but it's something that is at least going to be in the back of their head.
There's not many times when you can stand early during a penalty, but medical assistance is one of them. And as I've learned in my own scrimmages, if the jam is called off because of an injury, you are allowed to take a knee once it's been called off.
Of course, that could mean that you can go stare at the beer garden, or you can make the beer and get back to the seat. Beer, wine, or spirits. I believe not spirits.
So the officials are checking,
So there's only one.
getting some clarification on everything. 146 to 101. 13:53 is the score. Denver with a 45-point lead.
You're going to want to stick around for that. Tomorrow, game 7 starting at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. to get sleep in.
Yeah. That'll be awesome versus the defeated in this game that you are watching right now. So, could be Denver, could be Montreal.
It could go either way.
Oh, come on. No, I wasn't setting you up for that, but
You were. Anyway, 13 minutes is definitely enough time to put 45 points on the board and tie up the game.
Don't forget, we do have one more game today at the Salish Sea Slam. Dakota will be facing off against Minnesota at 7 o'clock. That timing may be adjusted because of the delays in the current game, but we will find out.
We are back to the action in this contest. Look, that is Arms jamming for Denver and picking up lead. Jupercut for Montreal, trying to get around, gets tangled up with, that is Day for Denver. But Jupercut able to complete the initial pass.
Jeppercut took a tumble, but the Denver blockers weren't quite quick enough to get in front of him. He capitalized on that for his initial pass. Meanwhile, Arms has his arms flailing, calls off the jam.
Took an extra hit from Red before the call-off motion started happening as well. Then the two gave a high five to each other. And Red is now going to don the star, wearing the jammer cap for Montreal. Jamming against Schneider for Denver.
Montreal at a slight pack disadvantage as Saturday serves the remaining seconds of his penalty, but Schneider, quick on that outside, jumps past the pack. He is your lead jammer for Denver.
And Schneider coming around finds White Shark. So White Shark back on, having his nose bandaged. And Schneider pushed to the outfield and forced to recycle back. And it looks like Red is going to try and pull him a long way around.
Oh, Red trying to get the pack to swallow up Schneider.
Schneider's just going to wait.
This is exactly the case right now. And Schneider steps back onto the top.
It's a smart move rather than playing those jam-on-jammer games.
Well, and the end result was that Red actually got himself reabsorbed into the pack. Schneider did not get reabsorbed. And now Red passing the start off to Pita.
Saturday in his new Skids-inspired helmet, holding the top of that tripod against Schneider. Schneider trying to find some room on that outside. Montreal quick to rotate in front of him.
tangled mass of derby humanity in the far straightaway. Then both jammers spring free. PETA being counted for the initial pass. Schneider has picked up 4 points on a scoring pass, make that 5 points. Then PETA and Schneider tangling with each other.
PETA took the opportunity to try and slow Schneider down a little, holding that pass scoreless, but Denver picking up 5 points for that jam.
As we approach the final 10 minutes,
and an official review is being asked for by Denver. If I'm correct on this, my assumption is that this is a scoring review. Schneider had completed his initial pass, was being lured back after having completed it before the second pass, was in the middle of the scoring, was being lured back, did not actually get the negative lap to have to restart the scoring pass. Then when he completed his scoring pass, was not given the initial points, only given 1 scoring pass worth where he should have received 2. At least that would be the challenge that Denver is putting forward. Obviously, the officials are going to confer. Montreal will be quite content if the result is, no, that was still the initial, only 1 scoring pass was completed.
Oh, definitely. The rules in this sport change so often. It's hard to keep track of when people get bridged back and don't complete their initial pass. That's why I'm not a jam ref. I leave that to the pros.
Right now, pending this review, score is 154 to 101. Denver has been just slowly extending that lead.
You are correct. Denver is challenging whether or not a pass was missed.
On something that has been impressive in this second half so far, which we're almost 2/3 the way through, is that Denver has taken and rolled with the loss of Sparrow. They've been able to filter other jammers in. Montreal in the second half, they've been finding themselves getting just into deeper and deeper penalty trouble. Not so much jammer penalties as much. That's been playing a part, but they've been watching blockers go, and when they lose one blocker, it tends to cause a ripple effect where they send 2 or sometimes even 3 blockers to the box.
Yeah, Montreal was off to a good start, but this Denver team seems to be getting in their head, and they're struggling a little bit in this second half. Still 53 points separating them.
They can obviously log in and stream. I think it's on YouTube. There's a link on the.
So again, the winner of this game will be back tomorrow night at 5 o'clock for the final game of the weekend. The loser comes back at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning to take on Austin Anarchy for the opportunity to take on the Philadelphia Hooligans
Anybody already got their tickets?
for their qualification.
Yeah, a few people, right? I know the murderer going to Wales, right? You guys are all quiet now. What's going on? Okay, thank you. What? You're tired? It's only day 1. Fair enough. I'll give you that. I feel like somebody should
See
give a lesson
Saturday
in lunch.
over at the medics table again, probably trying to get some more tape or bandages on the bleeding.
It looks like they are indeed looking at that eyebrow, forehead area that he had bandaged earlier. Again, definitely want to be safe rather than have that incident of, well, we've got to clean up the track again.
Well, cleaning up the track, and if blood gets in your eye and you can't see, that's just going to cause all kinds of chaos.
Exactly. So Saturday, taking this opportunity, taking this, what is becoming quite the extended official review. Again, this official review is a scoring challenge by Denver. They are challenging a missed scoring pass.
Flights have gone on sale this week.
And as you can see, we are 4 minutes into this official review. All sorts of delays during this game. It hasn't been the smoothest.
Yeah, something like that.
But thanks for sticking around.
Actually, the exchange rate went up just, I kind of almost balanced out right before roller time,
Right.
which was very helpful.
Yeah. So
And with these games all being posted on YouTube, you'll be able to go back, watch the games again later on. Any of the games from your favorite weekend, go back and watch them.
We've got
There's any
some
game that
players
you-
from the Denver bench shouting up to Wilhelm. Hi, Wilhelm.
We've got some of the Denver bench offering to do live in-game sideline interviews. Cruz, who also is known as Joe Mama, who announces in the Denver area, is adamantly saying no. When the person who's used to the microphone does not want to do the interview, I think that's probably a good sign to the rest of his team that we should not do a sideline interview right now.
Not just yet. And if we're going to interview anyone, it should probably be Cruz, because he'll know what to say to keep you entertained.
To be fair, we would kind of force Cruz to give the interview if we were going to do one right now. Looks like...
On behalf of Denver.
Looks like officials are slowly returning to positions. We might be almost clear of this official review. And the final game of the day is scheduled to start at 7 o'clock. That is a half an hour from now. Adjust accordingly. My expectations, it'll be starting a little bit later than that. But that final game will be Dakota taking on Minnesota.
Dakota and Minnesota. That's the battle of the Central Northwest?
Upper Midwest.
Upper Midwest? Upper Mid, North, Central. I don't know. They're relatively close together as far as states go.
These teams have actually faced each other a number of times before. They're practically next door neighbors. And proximity, in this case, actually breeds a lot of familiarity and friendliness. There's a lot of camaraderie between Dakota and Minnesota. Both teams have been rooting for each other during their games earlier today. Now they're going to have to face each other in a half an hour, give or take, the remainder of this game, and then however much time we need to attack on.
I'm actually a little disappointed that the Minnesota choir that shows up for the Minnesota Roller Girls didn't show up for the men's team, because they are quite entertaining.
Coach from Denver is counting. That should be 11 or not 10, maybe. Meanwhile, beer garden's open. What's going here? A few folks are engaging in the beer garden activities.
We're getting all kinds of suggestions on how to fill this now 7-minute long official review.
Yeah, so once you hit minute 7 in the official review, then the penalty box starts chiming in with what the announcers should be talking about. When the NSOs are giving us things to chatter about, probably an extremely long official review.
And we've mentioned our 3 generous sponsors several times, so we feel that you need a little break from hearing about Nerd Skates, Save on Foods, and Cobb's Bread. So we're trying to find other things to fill the time. Some suggestions have been the architecture.
From the Vancouver Burger.
What else were they saying? Oh, we could talk about the beer gardens you can't attend. They have beer and wine.
The beautiful mountain scenery out the windows that you can't see. Simply because of where the camera is. The camera's not pointing at the windows.
And the windows have little shutters on them, so we can't see the beautiful view of the river outside. But the Richmond Olympic Oval is a beautiful venue if you haven't been to it. They hosted the WFTDA playoffs here last fall, I believe, in September. So this is the second event in this venue. I can see why they chose to come back.
Okay, so there was a clarification that was not an official review.
All right, looks like we are just about back underway.
No officials don't make mistakes, so it couldn't be.
No official review was charged to Denver. Turns out officiating error was the cause, so there was no official review. An additional scoring pass was added, so 159 to 101. Viking Size now jamming from Montreal against Arms. Viking Size picks up lead, jammer status.
Viking Size, fresh off his break. He's got lots of energy. He skates backwards through the pack. He picks up 3 points for Montreal, 1 for Denver.
Couple of quick points and a very quick call off to that jam. So that's up with the score of 160 to 103 with 10 minutes to go in this contest. When we reset, we've got Juppercut jamming for Montreal, jamming against Schneider for Denver ground control.
Schneider makes his way to the front of the pack, but meets up with that solid tripod of Montreal blockers. Meanwhile, Juppercut gets knocked to the inside, bridge back to the jammer line.
Schneider does fight through, picks up lead, jammer status. White Shark into the penalty box for Montreal as the Mont Royals lose a blocker. And Juppercut able to complete initial pass as well.
Juppercut doing a beautiful job challenging the seams, but Schneider got through for a 4-point pass and calls it off before Juppercut can do any more damage.
The score is now 164 to 103, 9 minutes remaining.
In this game, 9 minutes and 2 seconds on the clock.
We've got red lined up for Montreal. It's going to be Rivera jamming for Denver.
Montreal with a slight pack disadvantage as White Shark serves his penalty from the last jam. And Rivera is your lead jammer, but red not far behind. Rivera is going to call that jam off. He doesn't want to play that jammer game.
At this point in the game,
I can read Red's mind. He pushed Rivera to the outside and looked automatically starting to go backwards. Rivera just called off the jam right away. Red's going to stay with the star, as is Rivera. They're going to do it again, lining up one more time.
It's a 61-point game.
Why not? It was only a 20-second jam the first time around. Let's try it again.
It was a short jam. We just had an almost 10-minute break, so everyone's full of energy, ready to play.
isn't that the way French works? Really? Or no?
There we go, Red with the star again. Of course, both jammers decided to stay on the track and try it again.
Red doing a great job challenging the lengths in the Denver wall. He's got one to beat on the outside. Oh, another one to beat on the inside.
Red with a little
your
spinning,
lead
juking, and
jammer.
jiving to get through. Picks up lead status. Rivera finds a seam. Just the entire inside lane left wide open for Rivera to get through to complete his initial.
Red looks back to check where Rivera is. He gets as many points as he can, calls it off, picking up 3 from Montreal.
Ground control are going to send arms to the jam line. Mont Royals responding with Viking size.
Viking size trying to distract the Denver blockers by making his braids sway back and forth.
It's clearly a strategic advantage to have long braids like that.
Absolutely, it's hypnotizing the way they sway back and forth. That's all you can focus on.
And an opportunity for Montreal as arms into the penalty box on a track cut.
Viking size up the middle. He's got one Denver blocker to beat. Gets knocked to the inside at the last minute. Mont Royal's trying to prevent the Denver blocker from bridging him too far back.
And Broderick just pushed Viking size far enough ahead so that Broderick had the opening get back into place ahead. Viking size finally getting around Cruz at the front of the pack. That is lead going to Montreal.
Arms fresh out of the penalty box. Finds those Montreal blockers waiting for him.
Viking size picks up 5. Arms pushed to the outfield.
This pack really hasn't moved very much between turn 4 and turn 1. They kind of managed to stay in front of us. And as I say that, of course, they go to the other side of the track. But with that, the jam is called. Denver with 0 points. Montreal 5 for a total of 9 in that jam.
164 to 115.
I've been to London. Actually, I was born in London.
Denver just looking to,
No, no.
as I said, really at the end of the first half, just looking to hold serve and stay the course. They've got under 5 minutes left to do it.
That's small talk again, Canadian small talk.
Montreal sending out Juppercut, facing off against number 36, Lenzo. Lenzo with red left to beat up from Mount Royal. And the jam is called for an injury.
Paternostro taking a hit up high. Our medical staff very quickly jumping right in. And the officials are again going to confer and consult amongst themselves.
And with that, number 84, Paternostro, is up and off the track. Both these teams putting the first aid workers to work throughout this whole game, proving why first aid is so valuable to this sport. We literally could not do what we do without the presence of first aiders, and this game is a perfect example.
Yeah, and our medical staff has been on top of things today. They've been working overtime this game alone, and we value them so much. So thank you to all medical staff, thank you to all first responders, thank you to all EMTs for all you do for roller derby wherever you are.
We've only got 4.5 minutes left in this game, so hopefully the first aid team can get a little bit of a break. We've got Viking size fighting against that wall of Denver blockers. Oh, Lenzo gets a cut track penalty. He will sit for 30 seconds, leaving Viking size on a much needed power jam for Montreal.
Lenzo has, it was a fair question going through his mind. He wasn't sure if he was out or not, because he felt that he had left the ground inbounds and had landed inbounds. There was contact in there. It did result in him being assessed the cutting the track penalty. But he had that moment of, but everything was good. Everything was clean and inbounds. I'm fine, right? That one step forward.
I think that's where that new rule comes into play, where you can step in accidentally, step yourself out. So it was that forward momentum that got him the cut track penalty. Had he stepped back out, recycle himself, he would have been fine. But you never know with these situations.
Well, either way, there was clearly a thought process because he waited for quite a bit. 4 more points picked up by Viking size. So 164, 129.
Just over 3 minutes.
35 points. Now the gap between the two teams. 3 minutes to go. You got Arms lining up for Denver. Appears to be Juppercut for Montreal.
The Rev lining up in the middle of that Denver wall, providing some beautiful offense right off the line. Juppercut is your lead jammer. And it sounds like the Rev drew a track cut on number 45, Arms. Power Jam, Montreal.
Power Jam for Montreal and Juppercut, and now a track cut being assessed against Juppercut. Looks like, again, that forward momentum. Juppercut was trying to get himself back off the track, but was doing it on the opposite side from where he had stepped out originally.
That'll give a chance for the jammers to swap up. Arms is back on the track, looking for some quick offense from the Denver blockers before Juppercut is sent back out.
Arms is still on initial pass, however. Juppercut in scoring position. This will be a full 2-minute jam, so another 58 seconds for this particular jammer matchup.
Denver blockers were looking a little scattered there as they came around turn number 1, but managed to get together just enough to hold Juppercut back. But he managed to squeak through on that straightaway. He picks up 5 points for Montreal.
5 points for Juppercut, and Arms now initial pass completed. So Juppercut's going to take a little bit of air, an apex hop, you could call it. 4 more points for Montreal.
Arms thought he could squeak through on that outside line, but the tape tripped him up, and he is getting bridged back to turn number 3. And Juppercut with another penalty.
An illegal procedure penalty.
Oh, it sounds like he pulled out his mouth guard. Equipment violation, unfortunately.
An additional 3 points picked up by Juppercut. Or correct, 3 points being picked up by Denver. No additional points for Juppercut. So 167 to 138. We've got 30 seconds remaining on the game clock. 12 seconds before we restart the jam. Denver is going to start out in a power jam situation with a 29-point lead.
Pack opting to start at the pivot line. Denver lining up to provide a pinch on that outside. Schneider takes advantage. He is through. He is your lead jammer.
For Denver.
Juppercut is standing. Penalty time almost gone. Juppercut returns to the track. Schneider going to bounce off of a couple of hits. Gets pushed to the outfield by Red 5.
For the first time in the game, we're seeing Viking size donning the pivot stripe. Looks like he was handed the star and was promptly knocked to the outside and recycled back by Denver.
We saw the exact strategy why Viking size was given the pivot cap. Did not work out in Montreal's favor. 5 additional points picked up by Denver at the last jam.
And with that, our unofficial score, 172. 138 for Montreal as we await the refs to do their final tally with the scorekeepers.
It's an unofficial final yet, please. Don't go on the track until it is an official final. I understand you want to warm up. Sorry for the delay.
Don't forget, there is still one more game after this. Dakota facing off against Minnesota Twin City Terrors. Stick around for the final game of this day one of the 2 days Salish Sea Slam.
Denver will be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Denver now knows that they're playing in one of the qualifying games. Montreal is going to be back at 9 tomorrow morning to play Austin. So it's both teams have more to go. Montreal, they've got to come back 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.
I know I'll be here at 9 in the morning.
Thank you for tuning in for this game. My name is Wilhelm Scream.
And I am Sonia Blade. Thanks for listening.
Against Austin at 9 o'clock tomorrow. So if you're going to get here early tomorrow, get a chance to see Austin.
Nerd Roller Skates is your dedicated quad roller skate shop in Calgary, Alberta.
Being a nerd is about being really excited and really passionate about a really specific thing. And the thing that we are really excited and passionate about is roller skates.
Nerd Roller Skates, for people who roll.